We have come to the end of the business and market week. It's a Thank God Friday, the 8th of March, and this is our Rice Exchange with me, Bosin Nomafai. And this is what trading day looks like here on the West Coast. That's just about 2.6% to the upside this week. The market ratchet up 3.61 trillion naira. That's a whole bunch to start the month of March. Today we added just 1% to the total market headline. The market's total value crossed into 57 trillion level, and that's 10,786. It's just around the 10,000 average since the start of the week, with the exception of Thursday, by the way. The market all-share index also crossed back into 100,000 and added additional almost 1,300 into that turnover. That's roughly 358 or 360 million ordinary shares today for about 20 billion in local currency. Just another very red-hot Friday just to start the weekend for you. Let's get on to see the top 5 movers. And of course, you can guess. If you're already in the market, I'm sure you know by now. That's Transcorp. That's the parent company of Transcorp Power and Transcorp Hotel. Of course, those are listed on the market. So I'm keeping with those who are on the market. The 1.57 billion and 11.764 got 30.5 million from the company that was listed on Monday, rallying the market for the week. UBA shares 26.18 also were traded since the start of the week as well. Access Corp and of course Gisco, those three in the banking space. Banking stocks still got some turnover if you take out the Transcorp Group and conglomerates, power, hospitality, leisure, and other form of businesses. What are the top 5 movers? Investors still trading very strongly. The MTN shares with a strong comeback, roughly 10%. Dangote Sugar in consumer goods, 9.98%. Nascon Industries within the Dangote Industries family, 9.97%. To the upside, Ikeja Hotel, 9.87, mid-cap hotel and leisure business, Deep Capital, which is a mutual fund, listed on our market, 8.62% to the north today. The shares of FBN Holdings fell 1.07%. Fidelity Bank fell much bigger, 3.38% within the banking space. So if you do all this over, you're going to see the top 5 in percentage terms, 9.8, haircut for FTN Cocoa. That's where the agro-allied company finished off. Guinness, that's the largest, second largest brewer, the market cap, that is 49.05, down 8.39%. Then you've got Guinea Insurance and ABC Transport. And that's just a summary of your trading day on the equity side. Let's see the market to see the NES over the counter. This is your weekly view of things. 5.06% decline for the NSI. Turnover was very strong. That's 151. Net transaction value down by roughly 50% on a week-on-week basis. Market cap fell for 5.06 this week to 1.4. We lost the 1.5, 1.6. Just the start of the week, we got 80 transactions at the over-the-counter market. So, like the rest of the market looks a bit this way, and of course, we are starting from the top right, where the fixed income exchange, which is the FMDQ, and of course, a bit of the derivatives as well, all in that with currency, 210 billion today. That's, of course, that's about a half, thereabout, of total turnover for Thursday. Then you've got the 60 billion that are coming from the special treasury bills of the central bank maturing 10th of June. And of course, I'm sure you look at the discount high at 17%. You see some yield on the market right now around 20. Brent crude trading 82.28, slightly down by roughly 1% to head into the weekend. And the overnight money remained very sticky to the upside, roughly 3% since we started Monday at 31%. The central bank took 1.3 trillion out for the last Friday's special treasury auction. And of course, you got the Wednesday auction as well. The NTB, the central bank also took those billions of naira out of the market. So the rate at which banks lend money to themselves within the banking sector remain very sticky to the upside. Then you've got the naira this week about 5.11% in the red. That's 1,627 naira 40 kobo. That's at the official window. That's the NAFEX. Let me check West Africa. Trading day. The BRVM coasted home today, 0.38%. Very strong. The Ghana stock market up by 1%. Nigeria added 0.99%. It's all green across the 3 main markets in West Africa. And that's your trading day from here. What's making the headlines? Let me shoot a bit of this because to got the statistics office today releasing the country's trade data for the final quarter of last year. You remember we got the GDP numbers out some time ago. Trade deficit came in at 1.4 trillion for the quarter under review. We're going to chew more on that later next week. Then you've got the Debt Management Office is looking to list on the NGX and FMDQ. That should be happening next week. 350 billion Sukuk bonds, which is raised non-interest bearing money for the government to support infrastructure. And then you've got foreign portfolio investment into Nigeria rising after we did those interest rate hike. And then, of course, we try to woo them with further treasuries that were sold in the market by the regulator. In Cote d'Ivoire, the Montreal Exchange is looking to help the BRVM in Cote d'Ivoire create a market for byproducts, which should further deepen derivatives market for that regional French-speaking market in West Africa. What else is here? Gabon is looking at 150 billion CFA from bond loan to finance development plans within the country, while the International Bank for Commerce and Industry in Cote d'Ivoire has a new Director General or Managing Director, and that's Mamadi Diakite. Congratulations for being a man to head that institution. It's also listed on the BRVM, by the way. So let's get to the Women's Day. Yes, it's the top women in business, finance, Nigerian financial markets. Today, marked International Women's Day with the closing gong of the Nigerian Exchange, with a theme that is focused on investing in women and accelerating progress. The women professionals called for increased female representation in corporate organizations, equitable inclusion in the workplace, and more participation in the society, in line with the Sustainable Development Goals number 5 of the United Nations. Let's listen.
This year marked my 10th year in this organization, and my growth within this organization and within the capital market, and indeed the growth of women within this organization and within the capital market, some of whom are on this podium with me, is a testament to the fact that this organization and the Nigerian capital markets, we live what we preach. Gender equality for us is not just a buzzword. It's not just the flavor of the season, or it's not just about being politically correct, but it is an ethos we live by to ensure exponential growth within this market, within our institutions, and within the economy of Nigeria. Over the past 3 years, NGX has forged a very strong partnership with the International Finance Corporation through the Nigeria to Equal program. Through this collaboration, we have been able to open more opportunities for women in leadership, employment, and entrepreneurship across various sectors of the Nigerian private sector. I'm also pleased to announce that NGX is currently working with United Nations Women to issue a gender bond in Nigeria. And this initiative, thank you very much. Through this initiative, we hope to be able to mobilize capital towards projects that benefit women and advance gender equality across various sectors of our economy.
I recall I spoke at International Women's Day event here, I think it was in 2015. I was a member of council at the time, and the topic then was building a successful career as a woman. I think it's great to see that since then the discourse has progressed from focusing solely on what women need to do to succeed. Now we're talking about what companies need to do in order to inspire inclusion and to provide better support for women at work. Because the truth is, for any organization to succeed in creating a genuinely equitable workplace for all, we need to consider both angles. What do women need to do, but also what do companies need to do to better support women? And I will briefly state that when I say what companies need to do to better support women, I'm not asking for a free pass for women, because we don't need it. What I'm talking about is recognizing that there are certain inherent factors that could adversely impact the careers of female staff if not dealt with. Now, once companies recognize those factors, they need to be deliberate about addressing them in a way that levels the playing field. And that's really all we need, a level playing field.
As at today, we only have 15% of stockbrokers as women out of the whole numbers that we have here. How do we increase that number? Okay, and even the certification that was just done, only 4% passed the examination. That is a cause for concern. Maybe for some sectors, they're doing well. But for our capital markets, we really need to do something about it. And how do we do it? It's going to take everybody involved as a stakeholder to make sure that this happens. We're going to be looking at it from different aspects. What do we expect government to do? and regulators to help to get women participating fully in this market. We're looking at them. We're hoping that they would they will give policies and regulations that will increase women's participation in this capital market. Setting targets for female representation in stockbroking firms, in providing incentives for companies to hire and retain female brokers.
What we do in empowering women is that we use the arts to change the narrative about us. You typically know who you are through your stories. Our storytelling for a long time has been done by foreigners for us, thereby skewing the image of Nigerians, Nigerian women, and African women. For a long time, we all believed that we don't have heroes, but the reality is that we have many heroines that have gone ahead of us. From the great Funmilayo Ransome Kuti that we just shot, women who have blazed the trail, gone ahead of us to demand change where people thought it was impossible. People who looked at colonial government and traditional government and told them, you will not continue to use the sweat of these women as cheap labor, taxing them unnecessarily, and fought them to a standstill until it was changed. Those are the kind of women that we celebrate and the narrative that we're putting out for African women. Today I'm reminded of the women around me, women who have inspired and have gone ahead to do extraordinary things, building communities, global villages, and doing a lot within their space. But we haven't seen enough of that. I think it's imperative for us to raise our voices and ask for more to be done. We've actually seen a stagnation in terms of investing in women. And I speak from the UN angle, where we work with a number of member companies that are in the private sector driving sustainability. Whilst we've seen progress so far, I think there's still much more room for us to do more. So we've seen incredible things coming in the space of board appointments, but it's not enough. We've seen incredible things done in the space of top-level executive management, but it's not enough. We have to support more women. We have to invest in them. We have to speak for them. We have to provide a space for them to be able to thrive. We have to accept women as they are.
We have a $1.7 trillion gap for financing for women entrepreneurs today. It is clear that it is not a feat that one organization can achieve. We need partnerships. And that is something we emphasize at the Sterling One Foundation. As gender equality is a thematic focus area we mainstream across our focus programs, we have also identified the need to bring together stakeholders for them to partner and scale projects and initiatives that are delivering results.
That's ringing the bell for gender equality on the Nigerian exchange. In the meantime, women in uniforms across Nigerian government agencies marked the International Women's Day 2024 with this video that calls attention to their courage and dedication. Let's watch.
On International Women's Day, we celebrate the strength, courage, and dedication of women around the world. Today, we pay a special tribute to the incredible women who serve in uniforms, dedicating their lives to protecting and serving their communities and countries. These women exemplify resilience, leadership, and compassion in everything they do.
International Women's Day is a reminder of the progress we've made and the challenges we still face.
I'm proud to stand alongside my fellow women in uniform, working together to create a more inclusive and equal world.
As a woman in uniform,
I am honored to serve my country and my community and celebrate the contribution of women in all fields,
including those of us in uniform.
They break barriers, defy stereotypes, and inspire future generations with their bravery and commitment to making the world a better place.
Happy International Women's Day to all the remarkable women in uniform.
Thank you for your service, your dedication,
and your unwavering strength.
Today and every day, we salute you.
Happy
International Women's Day.
And still on the International Women's Day, the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, today held a special event with the Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, and the World Food Programme Executive Director, Cindy McCain. The event was to focus on how IMF programs are impacting women positively around the world and what more could be done by the IMF and its partners. Let's take excerpts from the IMF chief.
Think of my journey and how it led me to be such a strong voice for women, for girls and women. There are these forks in the road that have defined who I am and why I'm here. And I want to highlight three. The first was when I was very young, in 8th grade back in Bulgaria. And I realized that I have an incredible hunger to read. And I would go to the library and read books in order until I got into philosophy and read Spinoza and Kant. And then I would organize in our school during the long break presentation of what I learned to my friends and would charge them a small amount of money. And I did a good job because it was very popular. But what impressed me at that time, I didn't know that it happened, was that the girls, my classmates, the girls, always had questions that were around values and care. And that later in life made me realize that women do bring something special. So that's one story I wanted to share with you. The second one is in 1990, as you know, the former Soviet bloc collapsed. And we finally got a chance to travel. So here I am in Bulgaria, getting a letter of invitation to go and be a visiting professor in the University of South Pacific in Fiji. I run to the map to see where is Fiji. Boy, it's very far away. But it took my conviction that now we are free and we have to embrace and exercise this freedom. I'm not going to bother you with how difficult it was in 1990 to get visas for Australia and Fiji and a ticket and get there. I would just tell you one small piece of the story. I'm arriving in Fiji, and at the airport in Suva, the woman checking our passports asked me, "Where are you from?" I said, "Bulgaria." She types something on her computer, looks at me and says, "There is no such country." And of course, as you can imagine, it was a bit stressful. My point is that we have to stretch and never take a challenge as one we cannot overcome. And that going to Fiji and teaching in a university there was a huge source for me, and I didn't know it so much at that time, of that strength that I bring further to the job. But the most relevant story is how, until I was in my late 30s,
Let's get back to Marketplace with M-Pesa, the iconic fintech product of Safaricom, of Kenya, marking its 17th anniversary on Thursday. It's been nearly 20 years since the debut of M-Pesa, which currently operates in 7 African countries across Africa, boasting of $1 billion in transaction every day. And this is just the numbers. But these are the 7 countries where M-Pesa currently operates, basically from DR Congo to the entire East African coast, then of course here in Côte d'Ivoire in West Africa. So that was how the journey has been since March 2007 of M-Pesa. And you look at the numbers earlier with the $1 billion, then you look at 60 million happy customers, 150 million transactions processed every day, and $6.3 billion annually in affordable credit. And that's the story. Congratulations to this iconic brand out of Africa. Now let's stick with East Africa, where Uganda's central bank this week held an emergency monetary policy meeting, raising the country's key lending rate by 0.5% to 10%. Let's listen to the acting central bank governor, Michael Atingo-Ego.
On March 6, 2024, a special monetary policy committee, MPC meeting, increased the central bank rate, CBR, to 10%. The unfolding of some of the risks mentioned in the monetary policy statement of February 2024, which includes the depreciation of the shilling exchange rate, has triggered the need for monetary policy to be tightened. The inflation outturns in February 2024 indicate that both headline and core inflation rose to 3.4% from 2.8% and 2.4% in January 2024, respectively. Whereas the main contributors to the rise in inflation are services and energy, fuel and utilities, this combined with the shilling depreciation could spill over into a generalized price. The exchange rate depreciation since November 2023, with a sharp depreciation in February 2024, was in part caused by the outflow of some offshore investor funds from the domestic market pursuing more attractive yields available in other markets, strong domestic demand, partly as a hedging mechanism against further depreciation and seasonal factors. Further exchange rate depreciation could drive inflation above the medium-term target of 5% by the second half of 2024. Additionally, whereas there are downward inflationary pressures arising from the continuing vanishing effects of supply-side shocks, receding inflation around the world, and improved domestic food supply, these are likely to be outweighed by the effects of a weaker shilling. The inflation trajectory going forward would be shaped by the outlook on the shilling and other goods inflation. The inflation forecasts have been revised upwards in the short term, that is 12-month horizon, in light of the exchange rate depreciation. Inflation is projected to rise above the medium-term target of 5% by Q1 of financial year 2024/25, and stay above 5% throughout 2025 unless monetary policy is tightened. Risks to inflation outlook remain highly dependent on global and domestic environment. Specifically, higher global commodity prices, partly due to geopolitical tension and an increase in shipping costs resulting from the Middle East conflict, as well as tighter global financial market conditions, could result in higher domestic inflation. MPC assessed the risks and the uncertainties of the outlook as being broadly on the upside. Economic growth for financial year 2023/2024 is projected to remain unchanged, with growth of 6%. However, economic growth in the outer years is projected in the range of 5.5% to 6.5% compared to an earlier projection of 6.5% to 7%. The downward revision of growth in the outer years largely reflects the likely impact of tighter monetary policy, which is required to stabilize inflation around the medium term.
And finally tonight on International Women's Day, many organizations and around the world here send several messages that captures the day. So let me just take a look at a few of them from here. And this is from Africa Finance Corporation, and says, today we honor the remarkable women of Africa Finance Corporation and their contributions to inspire inclusion and support the advancement of women and girls. Let's check to the next one. And that's coming from a ProShare, of course, you know, a ProShare. It says, Happy International Women's Day, inspire inclusion. And these are the women of ProShare Nigeria. And finally, this is from the APO Group, one of the world's, Africa's largest PR distribution company, celebrating International Women's Day, 8th of March, her story, our inspiration. And I hope we've inspired you tonight. I am Busi Namofa. Enjoy the rest of the evening and see you back on the show on Monday.